She had been stabbed. It was very clear that she had been violently sexually abused.
We may not catch him if we don't get the DNA that we were hunting.
That level of brutality was very unique in a veterinarian office. It scared people.
How did you determine he was your man?
He was lying about not knowing Andrea. He clearly had killed her.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Orange Park, Florida. A dedicated animal lover and vet clinic worker was attacked and brutally murdered. Police didn't have much to go on as the killer had washed away evidence that could ID them. But DNA is sometimes found in impossible conditions. Sunrise in Orange Park, Florida. A peaceful morning is torn in two by the shocking discovery of a woman dead on the floor. She had been cruelly and savagely killed.
Co-workers made the first 911 call. They were extremely distraught.
There's someone on the way right now. Okay. Well, this is take up the kids here. Sam, this is the sheriff's office. We're on our way. What did you say that her body was at? It's in the kennel. In the kennel? Yes, ma'am.
They had just found her in the vet kennel area. She was lying on a concrete floor, clearly horribly attacked, left virtually nude.
The room was a mess. She had been strangled, bashed in the head, stabbed, violently sexually abused, and then she was stuffed in a dog crate and left like an abused animal.
How was it that you were on the scene of this murder?
In this jurisdiction, a prosecutor always goes out with a homicide team. I was that prosecutor that morning. There was most certainly obvious signs of a struggle.
She had a lot of defensive wounds on her hands, so she did try to fight. What you would hope is that she was either unconscious or died quickly, that she didn't suffer for some of it, but she was clearly alive for some of the attack.
The vet clinic was a concrete floor. There wasn't much disturbed there. In fact, we saw no weapon that we could tell at first was used in the attack. What struck us strange was the fact that there was a lot of water on the floor. So we knew right away that the killer had made efforts to cover his tracks.
Looked like he may have tried to clean up a bit. They found cleaning supplies and they found a hose laying in water on the floor.
Employees told police that the victim was their co-worker, Andrea Boyer, 25 years old.
Andrea Boyer was a bright, young, energetic, married young lady who had just started her career. She was a vet technician for the Wells Road Veterinary Clinic in Orange Park, Florida. Got up and went to work every single day, 4:30 in the morning. She would prepare her vet clinic for the incoming veterinarians, as well as the rest of the staff. She would typically get there about an hour before everybody.
While he carefully noted the aftermath of the bloody slaughter, Dan Skinner saw something on the body.
A blue tag was found in Miss Boyer's hair. We went looking throughout the rest of the vet clinic and found the second fire extinguisher and noticed that there was a blue tag on the second one in another area.
How did you determine that the fire extinguisher was the murder weapon?
One of the evidence technicians noticed the fire extinguisher hanging back up on the wall. They noticed hair on the bottom rim. We took great precautions to collect that and preserve it for later testing. We knew that that DNA that we were looking for was crucial. Our worry that morning was we may not catch him if we don't get what we're looking for with the DNA that we were hunting.
Collecting DNA evidence was critical to finding out who committed the murder. This would require a plan outside of the standard operating procedure.
The decision was made to have the actual doctor come to the scene, which does happen on a rare occasion.
And the doctor agreed to come to the murder scene to do the DNA collection.
Some 5-6 hours after she was discovered, the doctor came to the scene and we had him collect a sample. Those swabs were taken from him and sealed and sent off to our Florida Department of Law Enforcement for future testing.
Police and technicians used the utmost respect in their efforts to collect evidence to find out who did this to Andrea. Now Dan Skinner turned his attention to those left behind.
That level of brutality was very unique.
We have somebody on the loose out there that's extremely violent, and we were going to catch her.
A woman had been brutally killed at a veterinary clinic where she worked in a cowardly attack by a perpetrator. The murder was as shocking in its savagery as it was happening in suburban Orange Park, Florida.
It was very unusual. That level of brutality was very unique. It scared people, that people were very worried.
Police visited Andrea Boyer's husband to deliver the devastating news and to try to piece together her final minutes.
Well, first and foremost, law enforcement's priority is to notify next of kin. The next of kin was her husband. Mr. Boyer was devastated by the news of the loss of his wife. All the friends that they had all confirmed that they were doing very well.
Police had no reason to suspect that Andrea's husband was the killer, but eliminating him left the investigation without a clear direction forward. So there must have been a sense at that time of not knowing where to go until the autopsy results came back.
There were so many things we did not have. We did not have an eyewitness. It was a normal morning for Andrea Boyer. She was not reported missing. She had no one in her life that she was struggling with. She was a great worker. She was getting along wonderfully with her husband.
When the autopsy on Andrea Boyer's body was conducted, everyone knew what was at stake. It also magnified the extreme brutality inflicted upon the victim. What did you learn from the autopsy?
What shocked us at the autopsy, the violence that was inflicted upon Miss Boyer was just simply subhuman. There are actually two types of strangulation plus blunt force trauma. Manual strangulation, which is like one using their hands. Ligature strangulation, one using an object to strangle someone to their death. And third, the blunt force trauma. This young lady was struck multiple times upon her head with this fire extinguisher. I've done this a long time. I've never seen violence like this inflicted upon somebody's head.
In the autopsy, her skull had been pushed back into her brain. There were pieces of the fire extinguisher that were in her head. They found a steak knife with the tip had been bent. They found it in a drain. There was something wrapped around her neck. She had also been choked. It was just violent.
I know the amount of injuries were insane.
There were so many blows to her head that during the autopsy it was really difficult for Dr. Sherman to count how many. On top of that, she was also strangled with some type of ligature, like a belt or a dog leash. This young lady struggled. This young lady fought. This young lady did not die very quickly.
The horrific details of Andrea's final minutes gave police a graphic picture of what had been done to her. But the DNA collection could be the evidence that would catch the killer.
The DNA analyst came up with a DNA profile. We didn't know who to compare it to, so we didn't really know who did it belong to.
The first thing police did was to confirm that Andrea's husband, Chad, was 100% eliminated as the perpetrator.
DNA evidence would eliminate him.
So with the husband fully eliminated, what was your next move?
The autopsy really made us realize we have somebody on the loose out there that's extremely violent, and we were going to catch him. Who's the DNA, who did it belong to, we did not know. So that we did the next best thing, which is run the DNA sample through what's called CODIS. CODIS is simply a database of all previously convicted sex offenders.
Weeks went by, an excruciating wait for the family and police. And then they got the news they had hoped for.
And lo and behold, it took about 3 weeks, but in mid-February, the greatest news in this case came in. DNA from her person came back to Michael Renard Jackson.
Police had identified the perpetrator, but he was not in custody. As they learned more about him, the urgency increased to apprehend Michael Renard Jackson before he killed again.
He had a history of it.
He's attacked before.
He was a predator.
We need to get him into custody quickly.
Homicide detectives identified DNA from someone who had raped and murdered Andrea Boyer. They believed that the murder was a sexual crime by a man with a violent history against women. And the more they learned about Michael Renard Jackson, the more they knew he was the killer.
When that DNA hit came, the focus came on one man, and that was Michael Jackson. Once we ran his full data, we learned very quickly this is a registered sex offender. That meant to us, we need to get him into custody quickly because he's attacked before. We learned that. He was actually still on sex offender probation at the time he killed Andrea Boyer. So we knew we needed to find him.
What did you learn about this man, Michael Renard Jackson, and his history?
When he was 16, he broke into a house and raped a 14-year-old girl. And so he had a history of it. Plain and simple, he was a predator. So that's why they had his sample. You know, he raped a 14-year-old girl. It was very clear that she had been violently sexually abused, and Michael Jackson had left plenty of very usable samples, so it was easy to match him up.
Michael Jackson was apprehended by law enforcement back in 1986. That case proceeded through discovery and litigation, eventually making its way to a plea. He pled to a judge after we had made him an adult. In Florida, as a 16-year-old, he got 30 years in prison, but when he got out on that 13 years of that 30-year sentence, the court put him on sex offender probation and was on sex offender probation all the way up until the attack of Andrea. Michael Jackson had no permanent address. When we found him, he was literally living in the corner of a hotel room about a half a mile from the vet clinic, approximately 1 mile from his work that he would walk to. His walk was right in front of the vet clinic. He had to walk that way to get to work, which would put him right in the path of Andrea Boyer turning in there one morning.
When you confronted him about his DNA being on the victim, did he have an alibi?
When he was brought in for questioning, he spent a lot of time trying to distance himself from that vet clinic. He denied knowing her. He was shown a picture of Andrea. He looked at it very closely in the interview room. He said, "I don't know her at all." He was doing everything he could in that interview to distance himself from Andrea Boyer, from that vet clinic, and really that would be important later because that's not what he's going to tell the jury when he goes to trial. He was lying about not walking. He was lying about not knowing Andrea. He clearly had killed her.
Jackson was arrested and charged with the murder of Andrea Boyer. When the case went to trial, his defense shocked even veteran homicide detectives who knew they had him dead to rights. So how could Mr. Jackson possibly defend himself with his DNA being found inside a woman who's been raped and murdered?
He took the stand, and in his trial testimony, he had completely changed course of what he told law enforcement. He had gone from not knowing her, never been to the vet clinic, doesn't know this girl even after looking at her picture, to his new version in front of a jury was, oh, Andrea Boyer, I've been dating her. She and I have sex almost every morning. We've had sex 60 times while she's headed to work. She would stop in parking lots and pick up me, the homeless day laborer, happily married young lady who's 25, 26 years old throughout that time period, and would stop and pick up 37-year-old Michael Jackson, who's homeless, walking the streets at 5:30 in the morning and just started having sex together.
I think the thing that disturbed people, it caught a lot of people off guard, was during the trial, we found out that Michael Jackson was actually very intelligent, because the state is required to turn over all the information it found. And part of that was they had to do a background on her. And so what they found out was that at one point when she was very young, she worked at an adult club. So after denying for months that he knew her, during the trial he testified that he did know her from the adult club and that they had consensual sex that morning. And that's why his DNA was with her.
He tried to claim that he had met her at some strip club and even knew her by her strip club name, trying to cast dirt on Andrea Boyer to try to create doubt to the jury. They saw through all this. They found him guilty as charged in the first trial and sentenced him to death with a 9-3 death vote.
After sentencing to death, the Florida Supreme Court decides that a 7-minute interrogation by the Clay County Sheriffs, and they asked Michael, "Did you know Andrea?" And he said, "No, I don't know her. I've never met her." And they kept saying, "Yes, you do. We know you know her." Well, Judge Wilkes allowed that interrogation to be played in front of the jury. And the Florida Supreme Court, they didn't allow that. That's why he got the new trial.
It was very difficult for our office. It was extremely difficult for the family. May have disagreed with it, but we went back to work and said, well, we're going to try him again. Most importantly, we convicted him that second trial. The jury came back 10-2 for death. Because it had to be 12-0, unfortunately fell 2 votes short of the mandate of 12-0 required by law. The court could not impose death. He had to impose a life sentence.
Sexual predator Michael Renard Jackson would never harm another woman. Still, it was little consolation for Andrea Boyer's family.
There was no remorse. There was no emotion. It didn't bother me. And that's the thing that bothered me the most.
Andrea Boyer was a selfless woman who loved animals and devoted her life to them before she was viciously murdered. She did nothing to deserve the fate Michael Renard Jackson inflicted upon her. At the age of 16, Jackson had referred to himself as a sexual monster, and his words proved painfully prophetic. Police say the murder of Andrea Boyer demonstrates beyond a doubt that releasing sexual predators into the population is a ticking time bomb that eventually detonates. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. The harrowing case of Andrea Boyer underscores the importance of workplace safety measures. To cultivate a safe working environment, businesses should consider hiring security personnel and installing security cameras and panic alarms for employees to alert police in case of emergency. Display signs inside and outside of your business, informing visitors and employees of the cameras and these security measures. The signs can act as a deterrent to potential criminals. And when possible, implement access control systems such as key cards or biometric readers to limit entry to authorized personnel only. And for more safety tips and resources, contact the Workplace Violence Prevention Helpline at 1-877-987-3747. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.
She said, "Oh my God, the bar is burning." And I think she's inside.
Initially had no idea what the cause of the fire was.
What did the medical examiner find that was so shocking?
They found out that she had died from being stabbed in the neck 5 times. They found Lisa's body in the basement underneath some of the wreckage.
They couldn't believe that a monster like that could be in their town, in their community.
Now the hunt's on. It's like, I'm going to find you however long it takes. A lot of times, especially with arson cases, they'll come back and watch the fire. He told her he wanted to tie her up and sexually do things to her.
I wouldn't believe there would be a person around that would do that kind of thing to such a kind-hearted person.
They said the devil's in the details, and as the details were getting more and more varied, the flags were coming up. It didn't mean anything, just straight evil.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Saxon, Wisconsin. This small town was rocked to its core when a beloved tavern was burned to the ground. The shocking fire shattered this once peaceful community. And when firefighters pieced through the wreckage, what they discovered would bring a family face to face with a monster.
County Sheriff's Department.
The building next to the Saxon pub in Saxon is completely engulfed in flames. There's a car parked out front of the building. I don't know if there's someone in the building, but it is completely up in flames right now.
It was just after 3 in the morning when a deeply concerned citizen called the sheriff's department. What did the caller report?
The caller reported that there was a fire at the Bear Trap Inn, the local bar restaurant that's located in the town of Saxon.
When firefighters arrived at the Bear Trap Inn, could they save it?
It was completely engulfed, completely destroyed the building.
Many of the firefighters had been regulars at the tavern and were stunned when they saw a familiar car parked out front.
They saw that the bartender, Lisa Waldros's vehicle was still in the parking lot, and she was unaccounted for.
Lisa's husband, Dean, was immediately notified. How did you find out the Bear Trap was on fire?
Her sister Tisha, that owns the place, called me at about 3 o'clock and she said, "Is Lisa home?" I said, "No." She said, "Oh my God, the bar is burning, and I think she's inside."
Dean raced to the scene in a panic. And when you saw her car was still out front, what was your reaction?
Oh, I said, "Oh my God, she is in there."
I can't even imagine the terror you must have felt.
Oh, very terrifying. Flames were all over. They were going through the roof already, and the whole place was glowing inside.
Just a few hours before, Dean had joined his wife at the inn to celebrate a family member's birthday. The moment he said goodbye to Lisa has remained etched in his memory.
Gave me a kiss and said, "I'll see you later, honey. I'll be home early." And that was the last I talked to her.
Once the flames were subdued, investigators combed through the rubble, but their search ended in the worst way possible.
They found Lisa's body in the basement underneath some of the wreckage.
How could it have happened? It was just almost impossible to believe that she's gone.
Fire marshals searched what was left of the building for clues.
Initially had no idea what the cause of the fire was.
What did you think happened?
I thought it was the gas stove, a malfunction on the gas stove, because the knobs on there didn't have a safety on them. If you bumped them while you were cleaning, the gas might have been left on, and I thought maybe there was a gas explosion that started it.
Did it seem likely to you the fire started in the kitchen?
Yes, it did. Could have been a number of causes: electrical, furnace, kitchen fire, could have been anything. They have to determine cause of the fire, whether it's mechanical, electrical, or intentional. If it was intentional, how was it started and where was it started?
And when Lisa's autopsy report came in, the results were a bombshell. What did the medical examiner find that was so shocking?
They found out that she had died from being stabbed in the neck 5 times and was still alive during the fire, as there was soot in her mouth, trachea, lungs, and had some carbon monoxide in her system.
And there was more. An accelerant had been found on Lisa's clothing. What was your reaction when you learned she had gasoline on her clothes?
It was just terrible. That being stabbed 5 times, but then to still be alive when you're set on fire before she actually expired is very heartbreaking.
The savageness of the crime was almost impossible to comprehend. Dean, when you heard that horrific news, how did you feel?
Oh, I was just bawling. You know, it was just hard to believe that somebody would do that to a person. I wouldn't believe there would be a person around that would do that kind of thing to such a kind-hearted person.
The grisly details spurred investigators forward.
It's heartbreaking. It's going to be, the family's already torn apart because she's dead. The manner in which she died makes it worse, makes you that much more motivated to find who did this. Could we find a knife, bloody clothes? Could we find something from the bar in the residence?
Lisa Waldros had been stabbed to death just moments after her shift had ended at the Bear Trap Inn. The kind-hearted 52-year-old was known for her hard work and dedication to helping children in the community.
You couldn't get a better person ever that put so much time in for kids.
The whole community must have been so scared. How do they feel as a whole when they learned about Lisa's murder?
They couldn't believe that a monster like that could be in their town, in their community.
You must have felt a lot of pressure to put Lisa's killer behind bars.
Someone came in and brutally murdered her. Now the hunt's on. It's like, I'm going to find you however long it takes.
Investigators questioned everyone who knew her, searching for the key to cracking the case.
We're enemies. Were there any enemies?
And was there anybody you found in Lisa's life who might have wanted to harm her?
There were no known enemies. She was very liked in the community.
It was Lisa's sister who gave authorities a disturbing lead. She said Lisa had recently been frightened by a strange man. Detectives quickly identified their suspect, C.J. Houle. Were you able to determine if he had been at the crime scene at the time of Lisa's murder?
We tracked him to Canada and found out that he was in Canada, had been held in Canadian custody prior to the fire, so he was ruled out.
The investigation was back to square one. But then a tip came in that detectives believed might blow the investigation wide open. The tipster said a former boyfriend of Lisa's daughter and the boyfriend's roommate had committed the crime, and that on the night of the murder, the roommate had been spotted lurking around the area while the Bear Trap Inn was burning to the ground.
Officers that were at the scene doing crowd control when the fire was going on observed the roommate watching the fire wearing hooded sweatshirt and dark pants.
There was a reason why you found it suspicious he had been at the scene.
Especially with arson cases, they'll come back and watch the fire. So we have some red flags that are going on.
Armed with a warrant, detectives scoured the two boys' apartment for clues.
Could we find a knife, bloody clothes? Could we find something from the bar in the residence?
And did you find any evidence that connected them to Lisa's murder?
There was nothing evidentiary that we could find that would link them to her murder.
Detectives were forced to move on. The disappointing setback only intensified their investigation.
You have to look everywhere and turn over every rock that you can turn over to try and find that one little piece you need to try and chase down who actually did this.
Did you fear it was only a matter of time before Lisa's killer struck again?
Like I say, you have only so much resources and so much time to find this person that's out there before something else happens.
What was your reaction when she admitted she had been lying to you?
The devil's in the details, and as the details were getting more and more varied, the flags were coming up.
Detectives investigating Lisa Waldros' murder feared her case might be going cold. But then a tip came in about a suspicious man who had been walking his dog while the Bear Trap Inn was burning. The man's name was Donald Rick.
On the morning of the fire, he was talked to by an officer because he had been walking his dog, and there was a dog bite incident where it bit one of the neighbors.
And when police took a close look at his background, They knew their investigation was heating up.
He was convicted of sexual assault. He was still on supervision for it through the state. He had a prior conviction for an armed robbery using a knife. He had been suspected and charged with prior arsons.
When you saw Donald Rick's criminal history, what were you thinking?
He checked every box for what we found at the scene at that point.
And that wasn't all.
He had lived a little over a block away from the bar itself.
But when Rick was brought in for questioning, he said surveillance footage would show that he was shopping with his girlfriend at the local Walmart at the time of Lisa's murder.
He said he didn't know anything about the fire other than he had saw it burning when he came back.
Donald Rick claimed he had an ironclad alibi for the moment Lisa had been killed, but detectives quickly determined the timestamp on the Walmart surveillance footage only proved he had plenty of opportunity to commit the crime. And the more details Donald Rick provided, the more Special Agent Gerald Kachka knew he was lying.
The devil's in the details, and as the details were getting more and more varied, the flags were coming up, and okay, well, now I'm gonna really dig into him.
Detectives searched Rick's home for evidence. What did you find?
A number of different knives and other items that looked like they had been bloodstained.
The knives were immediately sent to the lab for processing. And what were the results?
There was no evidence found on any of it.
The results were frustrating. But during interviews with Rick's girlfriend, Jessica Carley, she too kept changing her story, and detectives called her on it.
Okay, now we're going to pressure her a little harder on this, and then she said, yes, I did lie, and at that point, now I have the piece that I need.
She admitted Donald Rick had committed Lisa's murder because he had decided to rob the Bear Trap Inn.
Donald wanted to commit a robbery of some sort, wanted to go down to that bar, and she basically was do whatever you want to do, and later that night saw him get on the mask, grab his knife, and leave.
Armed with her statement, detectives confronted Rick, and under pressure, he finally agreed to give a full confession. What did Donald Rick tell you he had done on the night of Lisa's murder?
Donald said that he had been out gambling earlier, lost his money, and decided he wanted to go do a robbery somewhere to get some more money.
He said he went to the Bear Trap Inn and waited until everyone left, except the bartender.
Lisa was there by herself. He was continuing watching through the window as she was cleaning up, and he waited as she came to the back door to go out, and as soon as she opened the door, he ran in and tackled her.
Donald Rick admitted he stabbed Lisa to death and then decided to get rid of the evidence.
He went back to his residence, got a can of gasoline from there, went back into the bar, poured gasoline on her and gasoline on the bar.
Then he opened her purse, grabbed the money, and went back to his house. How much money did he say he took?
He divided the money up between himself and Jessica Carley, which turned out to be, I think he said was like $198. Went in and murdered this lady and burned down the bar for $198. It made it even worse. Did she say anything? Did she do anything? He says after he stabbed her, she asked him why. That was it.
$198. How difficult was that for you to hear?
Oh, it was terrible. It didn't mean anything to him. It was no remorse, it was nothing. He was just straight evil. It said that when he had taken his bag of bloody clothes and the knife and everything from the bar, and he and Jessica went down to the river and he threw it in.
Donald Rick pled guilty to first-degree murder.
Because when I went in there, I had not one intention of anyone dying. I'm going to get some money and I'm going to get the out of here. Because morally, me stealing something from someone, I mean, maybe I'm just up in the head, but it's never bothered me to steal. If I needed something, I need it. And I know it ain't right, because I don't want someone stealing from my mom or stealing from someone, but I stuck that lady in the throat, so guess what? I gotta pay. Someone killed my mom, I'd want them dead, so, now that's someone else's mom, so I deserved it. And we don't have no death penalty here, but okay, well then I guess it's life in prison, I mean, Christ, how many chances are they supposed to give me? Armed robbery, go to prison in Michigan, get out. Burglary in Wisconsin, do 2 or 3 years, get out. Statutory rape in Wisconsin, do 10 years, get out. There's got to be a time when you just say that's it, you know.
It's a great feeling that you can bring them some closure. It's heartbreaking. It's going to be, the family's already torn apart because she's dead. The manner in which she died makes it worse. But we got this evil entity off of the street permanently. And they know that the person that killed their Lisa is not going to be free to do this again. So it felt good, but it's a tragedy still.
What went through your mind when you heard why he had killed Lisa?
I couldn't believe anybody would do that for that little bit of money. I'd give all the money I ever earned in my life to have her back. It was hard to deal with it. I mean, in the court, I just wanted to get out of my chair and choke him.
For Lisa's husband, Rick's conviction was the conclusion of a devastating journey. But the pain of losing his wife will never fully heal. So what are the moments, Dean, when you think about Lisa the most?
Every day. Every minute. Every morning I get up, I think about it. And I tell her how much I love her.
Donald Rick was sentenced to life in prison without parole for murdering Lisa Waldros and setting fire to the Bear Trap Inn. Lisa's husband will be forever grateful to investigators for never giving up and for bringing justice to his family and their entire community. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. The chilling case of Lisa Waldros demonstrates the importance of workplace safety and preparedness. Businesses should provide employees training on security protocols, emergency procedures, and how to recognize and respond to potential threats and violent crimes. No employee should be left alone, especially at night. Consider hiring security or putting another employee on duty. The presence of a fellow employee or security officer may make criminals think twice about targeting your business. Protecting employees should always be a top priority, and taking these steps could help prevent tragedies and enhance workplace safety. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe. He figured the killer had lured her there to the gym.
She was shot 3 times, twice in the back area and then once on top of the head.
And with the shooter aiming downward like that, that tells you something about the murder.
If a bullet is going to the top of someone's head, they were likely on their knees, and so she was executed.
When you actually looked at her social media account, you saw a whole different side of her.
You know, I learned she had a lot of friends. She was a mother. She had a young child. She seemed happy.
Her life ends in this dirty, abandoned gymnasium. It was very sad.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Monroe, Michigan. The Lazy Boy Furniture Company was founded in this town of 20,000 people and still has its headquarters there. It's also the early childhood home of George Armstrong Custer, shot and killed in the Battle of the Little Bighorn in 1876. 10 miles northeast of the city lies Boysville, a juvenile rehabilitation center that was closed and abandoned a decade ago.
The facility itself is kind of secluded. There's a couple of long driveways to get to the actual building. So if you're just driving by, you wouldn't really see it.
On a bone-chilling night in March, a bunch of bored high schoolers decided to roam the grounds for fun. But after they entered the vacant gymnasium, they found a cadaver lying on the floor.
There was no power, broken windows, it was unsecured, and they were exploring it and they found what they thought was a dead body inside. So they called 911 and reported to troopers.
Michigan state troopers quickly arrived at Boysville. It was going to be a long night.
I saw a female, appeared to be in her 20s. She had some pooling of blood behind her head. She had what appeared to be some post-mortem damage to her face, likely from animals.
Just from looking, you can tell that it wasn't recent, that she'd been there for some time.
It was cold in there because there was no heat, so her body was actually frozen.
So it's the middle of the winter, and this woman had been lying on the gym floor for who knows how long, and you had trouble accessing the building, right?
In order to get inside that area of the gymnasium, the stairs were busted, the railings were all busted, there was bushes growing that you really had to either climb to get around.
So because of all that, you figured the killer had lured her there to the gym and then dropped her where you found her?
So we just didn't think that she was murdered somewhere else and then brought to the facility, just because of how hard it would have been to carry a body over the railings and to place her in the middle of the gymnasium.
And what was your first impression as to the cause of death?
I assumed that originally she either had overdosed there or she had been killed and left there. And when we rolled over and we saw the large pool of blood, we suspected that she had been killed.
And later, the medical examiner proved you were right.
She had been shot 3 times with a .22 caliber gun. One of the shots went into the right side of her jaw and exited out the bottom side of her chin. One shot went into her back, and the bullet did not come out. And what was believed the third and final shot was at the top of her head, and that bullet was lodged inside her head.
Since the terminal shot entered the top of the victim's skull, the shooter was probably firing downward. And with the shooter aiming downward like that, that tells you something about the murder.
So a bullet is going to the top of someone's head. They were likely on their knees, and so she was executed, which would tell you that whoever was responsible was cold-hearted, and this was an extremely violent crime.
So who was this mystery woman, and why did she end up here? Biometric technology produced the first clue.
While we were on scene, we utilized a fingerprint scanner that one of the troopers who responded to the scene that had. And with the fingerprint scanner, we were able to obtain her identity.
The victim had interacted with law enforcement in the past, and her fingerprint data was stored away. The database revealed her identity.
Her name was Kayla Sadowski.
Born in the city of Monroe, Kayla Sadowski was just 23 years old when she was shot to death on that frigid gymnasium floor.
She was estranged from many members of her family, including her son's father. She was homeless, and at the time of this investigation, she was living underneath a bridge.
So despite the horrible living conditions she was in, when you actually looked at her social media account, you saw a whole different side of her. What was it?
I learned she had a lot of friends. She was a mother. She had a young child. She was young. She was early 20s. She was from the Monroe area. From what I could tell from just looking on her social media sites, she seemed happy.
In addition to examining social media, investigators visited those who knew Kayla Sadowski best, her family and friends.
Everyone stated that they last spoke to her on February 15th. And she last spoke to her child's father when she was at a meal with some friends, and no one had spoken to her or heard from her after the 15th. And so it wasn't just one person or two person. Everyone stated that she stopped communicating with them.
As detectives continued to dig, the mystery behind Kayla Sadowski's death would reveal itself as a tangled knot of seduction and lies, and end in a heartbreaking epitaph for a life that had barely begun.
Here was a woman who had come into the world with so much promise, and now her life ends in this dirty, abandoned gymnasium. It was very sad.
The homicide of Kayla Sadowski was a shocking mystery. Her frozen body was found in a dilapidated gymnasium. Executed by handgun, the secrets of her murder were slowly being revealed to police.
We had to essentially go through what's called a victimology, where you learn everything you can about the victim by talking to their family, their friends, their coworkers, everyone who knows them, and you get a different perspective of that person from the different people that she knows in her life.
Despite being temporarily homeless, Kayla Sadowski had pursued her social life with great urgency.
She had just started dating someone about 2 weeks prior. His name was Louis Cutliff. That was the last phone call that she made.
She also made her social media a priority, posting regularly on Facebook to her many friends and to other love interests, including a man named Bryn Smith. Tell me about those online conversations between Bryn and Kayla.
They're going back and forth. She's asking if he really wants to be with her, and he's telling her that he does, that he really likes her.
And was Kayla showing an interest in pursuing a relationship?
She thought that maybe this is, someone who likes me, that wants to hang out, that wants to be my friend. So for weeks, you could see that they were messaging back and forth as friends and wanting to hang out together.
Bryn Smith was living with his cousin, Stephen Bales, coincidentally one of Kayla's former boyfriends. Police say Bales was just shy of being a cult leader, more like a sort of Peter Pan of criminal activity. He had assembled a small tribe of lost children to do his bidding.
So Steve Bales lived in a one-bedroom apartment with approximately 8 other people.
He was older, late 30s compared to everyone else involved who were young 20s.
He surrounded himself with people he could exploit financially and exploit them for their bodies. He was not working at the time of this investigation. It had multiple run-ins with law enforcement.
Any of these men could have been involved in Kayla's death, but so far, none of the puzzle pieces were fitting together.
We knew there's no cameras in the area. We either needed someone to come forward or we needed to get a break with something in the investigation.
That break came a few days into the investigation when one of Kayla's friends contacted the Michigan State Troopers.
She came forward and said that she had information about, who murdered her.
She had a recording of Kayla's ex-boyfriend and his roommates that she had talked to him on the phone, and they admitted that they had been at the crime scene when she was killed.
The ex-boyfriend was Stephen Bales, the roommate, Bryn Smith. What did Bryn say on that call?
Bryn was telling her that Kayla was shot and that, he knows because he was there. And then that's when he let it slip that he knows that she was shot 3 times, which was something that we never released to anybody.
When law enforcement talked to Bryn Smith, the would-be lover inadvertently backed himself into a corner.
We had not even released the cause of death, so only someone who was there or was told by someone who was there would know that she'd been shot 3 times.
So basically, Bryn did a terrible job of trying to convince you that he had nothing to do with the murder of Kayla.
He lied multiple times. One of his lies was that he had not had any form of contact with Kayla Sadowski since Christmas Day, and we were able to show that he had actually been contacted her and had set up a date with her.
And what role did Stephen Bales play in all of this?
We probably received over 100 different tips about him being involved, but nothing that was actual evidence. It was just people calling in what they saw on Facebook or what they heard from people.
So far, it looked as if one of the people connected to Stephen Bales, or perhaps Stephen Bales himself, ordered the hit on Kayla Sadowski.
Just wasn't a good person, and he was the one that came up with, let's take Kayla out because I don't like her.
A rogues gallery of potential killers was lined up and ready for a closer look. Police say Stephen Bales was the puppet master of this bizarre mini-cult, a handful of people, supposed friends of Kayla Sadowski, that might have been involved in her murder. Michigan State Troopers launched their inquiry by talking to Kayla's boyfriend of 2 weeks, Louis Cutliff. He proved to be a weak possibility as the killer and was never a serious candidate.
No, not at all. He was, besides being the, last person that on the cell phone it looks like she spoke to, everything he told us, we were able to confirm.
He was calm, but he seemed genuinely upset that his new girlfriend had been killed. He advised that the last time that he had spoken to her was February 15th in the evening, and I was speaking to him on March 4th. So he realized something was wrong, but he wasn't sure if she'd been harmed or she just didn't want to talk to him anymore.
This brings us back to Bryn Smith, one of Kayla's love interests and the cousin of her ex-boyfriend, Stephen Bales. In the interview room, Bryn was horribly unskilled at outgunning the police.
Point out to him that she, with phone calls with a friend and his aunt, that he had divulged some of the details of the crime scene that we had not released in public. He denied that he had talked to either one of them. I actually called his aunt during our interview so he could hear, and she verified that she had shared that information with me.
Oh, and I'm sure he wasn't too happy about that.
He eventually became very hostile during the interview, stated that I was a liar, and he stated he didn't want to talk anymore.
Facebook messages clearly indicated that Bryn Smith had asked Kayla Sadowski on a date, and that he had chosen a rather strange place for their romantic interlude, the now vacant Boysville Juvenile Detention Center just outside of town.
So he was telling her he's got somewhere where they can go. She was sharing her location with them, so you can see where she was at. And, we knew where she was last when Bryn Smith showed up to pick her up to where, he took her to Boysville for her to be murdered.
Kayla was really excited to be on a date with Bryn, as evidenced by her Facebook messages. And as he was driving her to Boysville to be killed, she changed her Facebook status to in a relationship with Bryn Smith. She's seeing him as a boyfriend, and he's literally driving her to her death.
On that night, Bryn Smith was also talking to Steve Bales, who had gotten married the day before, February the 14th, Valentine's Day. As he started a new chapter in his love life, Bales also wanted to erase his romantic past, starting with his old flame, Kayla Sadowski.
It just appeared that she once was part of their friend group, and they no longer liked her. They just wanted Stephen Bales just didn't want to have to deal with her in his life anymore.
What happened next was one of the sickest and most heartbreaking crimes we have ever examined.
On the day that Kayla was murdered, the investigation showed that a group of people from Steve Bales' apartment, specifically 6 of them, had plotted to kill her.
As Stephen Bales' new wife monitored a police scanner just in case, Bryn Smith picked up Kayla Sadowski for their date and brought her to the abandoned gymnasium at Boysville, where the other 4 members of the Bales group, all dressed in black, were waiting for her. There, Stephen Bales and his gang forced Kayla onto her knees, stood around the terrified young woman, and fired 3 pistol rounds into her body.
And then they just left her there.
And it was then that you singled out Steve Bales as the ringleader?
We believe that Steve Bales had coordinated the entire murder of Kayla. We have messages from Bryn Smith to Steve on the night of the homicide, right around the time we believe Kayla was killed, in which Bryn Smith said, "Dude, I can't find the gym." And Steve replied, "I can hear you coming."
And whether or not he was the shooter, Bales' behavior after the killing raised a lot of red flags.
He painted his Dodge Journey bright blue. He fled the state right after we believe Kayla was killed. And then when her body wasn't found, he returned. And then the day after her body was found in March, he fled the state again.
And the U.S. Marshals actually helped you out when you arrested Stephen. How did that all go down?
He was confronted by the U.S. Marshal. He had an 8-hour standoff in a residence in which he refused to come out, and they eventually had to use tear gas to have him come out.
In prison and awaiting trial, Bales was indignant.
He started off just kind of telling us how much that he loved Kayla, and then once we started to present facts to him, he didn't want to talk to us anymore. So I think he truly thought that he was going to get away with this.
Eventually, the court had its say in the matter, and every last one of Stephen Bales' gang of murderers went to prison. Some of them even testified against each other. So that leaves one last question. Who was the one who pulled the trigger?
We believe that Caitlin Ramsey was the actual shooter in the homicide based on multiple witness testimonies and including people who were involved in the homicide.
And just like the rest of the Bales crew, Kaylin Ramsey was supposedly a friend of the victim.
Kaylin Ramsey denied that she had any conflicts whatsoever with Kayla Sadowski. In fact, Kaylin described her as a sweetheart. However, voice message and then Facebook showed that Kaylin Ramsey was swearing and accusing Kayla of threatening her son and stated that you're done several times.
So was it an argument between the two girls that led Kaylin Ramsey to pick up a .22 caliber handgun and murder Kayla in cold blood? The Bales gang hasn't revealed the truth, and we may never know for sure.
So it's, a real life horror movie. It was disturbing to think that people are just capable of just coming up with a plan like that just because they don't get along with someone.
Kayla Sadowski, who hoped to find new love, instead found herself left alone to die in a derelict facility devoid of human life. And now it is time for today's Safety Spotlight. Online dating can be an exciting way to meet new people, but it can come with its own set of risks. When dating online, look for inconsistencies in the person's profile and communication, as well as any red flags. Arrange to meet in well-lit public areas and avoid secluded locations for initial meetings. If you feel comfortable, let a friend or family member know where you're going, who you're meeting, and when you expect to return. RAIN is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence organization and features many additional tips for safer online dating and dating app use. Visit rain.org for more information. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.